There is a quiet sorrow that comes from understanding the world too well. A strange disenchantment that settles in when all the magic has been explained away. The philosopher Alan Watts, who explored many doorways of perception, saw this not as the end of wonder, but as a sign that we were looking for it in the wrong place, in the description. Not the experience. It's the tragedy of the brilliant mind. You have successfully deconstructed the mystery. You know the names of all the trees, but you've forgotten the feeling of the forest. You understand the neuroscience of love, but you've lost touch with its heart. The world has become a collection of perfectly labeled, perfectly understood, and perfectly lifeless objects. The magic has not vanished. It has been methodically cataloged until it became mundane, and you are the brilliant, lonely curator of the explanation. You have the map, but you have forgotten that you live in the territory. But what if the wonder you miss isn't hidden in some new, undiscovered fact? What if it lies in the opposite direction, not in adding more knowledge, but in the courage to, for a moment, know nothing at all? This is the core philosophical message of the transformative glimpse, whether it arises from deep meditation, a profound connection with nature, or altered states as Watts famously explored. This is not a journey to find new words for the mystery. It is a journey to rediscover the mystery that lives in the silence before the first word is spoken. We are about to explore how to see the world again, for the very first time. This disenchantment is an unintended side effect of a mind that is doing its job perfectly. The primary function of the human intellect is to be a magnificent labeling machine. It takes the infinitely complex, seamless, and unnamed reality that flows into our senses, and it chops it up into manageable conceptual pieces. It puts tags on them: tree, sky, good, bad, me, you. This is the map. It is an essential tool for survival and communication. But we have made a fundamental error. We have forgotten that we are the cartographers, and we have begun to live entirely inside our own creation. This leads to the great loop we must now unravel. We believe that to know the world more deeply, we need a more detailed map, more words, better definitions, more refined concepts. But what if this is precisely backwards? What if true understanding, the visceral experience of wonder we crave, only begins when the map is, for a moment, put away and the labeling machine is switched off? To explore this, we need a guide who is a master of words, but who spent his life pointing to the reality that lies beyond them. Alan Watts was fascinated by any experience, whether through Zen practice, art, or the philosophical insights from altered states, that could temporarily suspend this compulsive labeling. He saw these glimpses not as escapes from reality, but as brief, powerful returns to reality, the raw, unfiltered, and magical territory itself. He offered a way to understand the message of such a glimpse. It begins with clearly seeing the bars of our beautiful cage. In the next part of our journey, we will explore the first and most powerful tool the mind uses to disenchant the world: the simple, everyday act of naming. We will see how the word bird can prevent you from ever truly seeing the bird, and why the first step toward rediscovering wonder is to break the spell of your own vocabulary. Let's begin with the paradox we ended on. How can a simple word like bird be a barrier to truly seeing a bird? It's because the primary function of a word is to be a shortcut, an abstraction. The moment your mind sees the flash of feathers and flurry of motion and labels it bird, the direct sensory inquiry stops. The phenomenon has been successfully identified, categorized, and filed away in the correct conceptual box in your mental library. In that instant, you stop seeing this specific, unrepeatable event, the iridescent shimmer of this feather, the particular rhythm of this wing beat, the unique and momentary dance against the sky. You are no longer experiencing a living process. You are acknowledging a dead concept. A word is like a photograph of a person you love. The photo is a useful symbol, a representation. but it is flat, silent, and fixed in time. Our disenchanted world is the result of us trying to live in a gallery of these photographs. We walk through life saying, "Ah, a tree, that is a cloud. This is my partner." And we are interacting not with the vibrant, multidimensional realities, but with our own flat, conceptual snapshots of them. The magic, the life, is in the living being. The boredom and disenchantment are in the photograph. Let's try this right now. Look at your own hand. Your mind will immediately offer the label, hand. Acknowledge the word, and then, as best you can, let it go. Now try to see your hand as if you are an alien who has never encountered one before. See the incredible web of tiny lines on your knuckles. See the subtle variations in skin tone, the way the light creates soft shadows. See it not as a thing you own, but as a mysterious living landscape. For just a moment, you are not looking at a concept. You are witnessing the territory. This simple shift from naming to seeing is the first crack in the conceptual prison. But what happens when this is not just a momentary exercise, but a profound, overwhelming experience? This is the philosophical core of the transformative. Glimpse the temporary collapse of the entire library. In a moment of profound wonder, what Watts might describe as a mystical or psychedelic glimpse, the mind's labeling machine doesn't just pause on one object. It temporarily shuts down altogether. The mind, for a brief and stunning period, runs out of words. And in this silent, wordless space, something extraordinary is revealed. The world ceases to be a collection of separate labeled things. The hard, conceptual lines that your mind has drawn between everything, between you and the chair you're sitting on, between the floor and the earth beneath it, between the air in your lungs and the sky outside, begin to soften and dissolve. This is the dissolution of boundaries. Imagine looking at a beautiful mosaic and seeing thousands of individual, separate pieces of colored glass. This is our normal perception. The glimpse is the moment you step back and realize the entire mosaic is, in fact, carved from a single unbroken piece of stone. The lines between the pieces were just superficial etchings. You see that reality is not a collection of separate nouns, but a single, vibrant verb. A unified, interconnected, and living process. In this state, you feel that you are not a separate observer looking at the universe. You are a feature of the universe. Just as a wave is a feature of the ocean. But for the librarian, for the ego, for the I that is built and defined by these very boundaries and labels, this experience can feel like death. It is the ultimate loss of control, the shattering of the very framework of your identity. Yet, paradoxically, those who have experienced such a glimpse report not a feeling of annihilation, but of a profound homecoming, of finally seeing things as they truly are. To understand this, we must look at the nature of wonder itself. Wonder is the native language of human consciousness. It is the default state of a mind that has not yet built a library. Think of a very young child in a garden. She doesn't have the words photosynthesis, stamen, or petal. She doesn't see a collection of botanical specimens to be categorized. She is confronted by a vibrant, unified, and overwhelming field of colors, smells, and textures. She is in a state of pure, wordless encounter. That is wonder. It is not the experience of knowing something amazing. It is the experience of not knowing in the face of the amazing. We, as adults, have traded this state of wonder for a state of knowledge. We have filled our library with so many books that we have forgotten the feeling of the sun and the wind outside. The philosophical message of the transformative glimpse, then, is a powerful reminder of our native state. It is a temporary, controlled demolition of the library, revealing the vibrant forest that has been there all along, hidden in plain sight behind the screen of your own concepts. It proves to you that the magic wasn't lost. It was merely obscured by your own expertise. But we cannot, and should not, live in a state of constant, overwhelming ego dissolution. We need our library to function. So how do we bring the wisdom of the territory back inside? How do we live in a world of words and concepts without becoming a permanent prisoner to them? In our final section, we will explore the simple, courageous, and practical art of being speechless, of cultivating moments of wonder in our everyday, ordinary lives. We have journeyed from the disenchantment of the library to the edge of the living forest. We've seen that the magical world we miss was not lost, but simply obscured by our own cloud of concepts. The final question is the most practical. How do we live with this wisdom? How do we use our library of words without becoming a permanent resident? The answer is not a grand, dramatic demolition, but the quiet, daily practice of what Zen masters call beginner's mind. It is the art of intentionally unknowing. It is the choice to approach the familiar world as if you are seeing it for the first, and perhaps only, time. Our disenchantment is a disease of expertise. We know what a cup of coffee is. We know what our partner's face looks like. We know what the rain sounds like. And because we know, we stop experiencing. The wonder is buried under the weight of our certainty. The practice of beginner's mind is the antidote. It is the deliberate, gentle act of setting aside the label and re-engaging your senses. It is to look at a flower and for a moment, forget the word flower and simply see the explosion of color and form. It is to listen to a piece of music and, for a moment, forget the artist and the genre, and simply be touched by the sound. The portable wisdom is this: your mind is a brilliant storyteller, but the deepest stories are told in silence. You don't need a grand mystical event to find the territory. You can find it in your next breath. The practice is to treat your own concepts lightly. Choose one ordinary thing today, and for just 30 seconds, make a conscious effort to only see it, not think about it. This is the art of becoming an amateur again in your own life. It is the practice of dropping the map and actually tasting the meal. This simple, quiet practice begins to re-enchant your world. The mundane starts to shimmer. A walk around the block is no longer a boring routine, but a sensory treasure hunt. Relationships are transformed because you stop interacting with your static idea of a person, and you start meeting the living, changing mystery that stands before you. A deep, quiet sense of gratitude begins to grow, because when you truly look at the world, unburdened by your commentary on it, you realize it is an utterly astonishing and beautiful place. The quiet sorrow of knowing it all is replaced by the quiet awe of seeing it all. So the final invitation is not to abandon your intellect, but to give it moments of rest. It is to remember that your library has a large, open window, and you are encouraged to gaze out of it as often as you can. As you move through the rest of your day, can you find one small opportunity to be courageously speechless? To look at something familiar, a face, a tree, your own hand in the light, and allow yourself, just for a moment, to not know what it is. What if the magic you've been missing is not hidden in some new and exotic fact, but is waiting for you right here, in the silence, on the other side of the very next word you are about to think?